It's time for 2NURFM's Health and Wellbeing. And David Lomman is with us today. And we're looking at cars and bodies and the relationship. And, well, let's see how it goes.
Cars.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's got a car. Everybody drives pretty well.
Well, lots of us do.
Most of us do.
Yeah.
And most of us pay attention if the car starts to make some funny noises or starts to even get a flat tyre. We say, oh, we better pull over, better fix the tyre. But with our body, it's like, oh, no, that's just a pain in my gut. That'll go away. Or, oh, yeah, okay, I get those headaches. I get them every week, but, they'll go away. Or, just all those type of things that we just tend to ignore because we'd rather be blissfully unaware than aware of what's actually happening in the body.
Well, some of us probably ignore the car as well because we don't know how to fix it. But certainly as far as the body goes, we just think, no, that can't be happening to me.
We have to hold on to the car. We have to hold on and just hope, well, maybe it'll go away, maybe this, maybe that, especially if we haven't got any money to fix it or we haven't got a friend who's got a garage or we don't know what to do. Or we can even take it to a lot of different garages and they're not able to fix it. I know when I had some old bombs once upon a time, it was difficult to get them treated the way that I would have liked them to be treated because we didn't know what was wrong with them. So things just tended to break down.
Well, that's okay for the cars. We know where to take it. And I suppose we know where to take our bodies to our health professional.
Well, we do. And often people go along and they have a blood test and the blood test says, well, there's nothing wrong. The difficulty is that the blood test is only really going to show things wrong when they're badly wrong. But like with a car, if you pay attention to the first knock, the first time you get a warning that your cholesterol is rising, the first time you get a warning that your blood pressure might be going up, or the first time the doctor says, you better be a bit careful about your blood sugar, it's just heading towards that little upper level, or the headaches, or muscle cramps, or anything else of that nature, it's a really good time then to pursue your medical side of things. Go to the doctor, get the tests done. But if your doctor isn't able to help you, also look, I believe, at the other options that are available. And there's a whole lot of different practitioners in a whole lot of different fields who come at things in a different way. And it's not what I tended to call in my old days airy-fairy stuff. It actually has a basis in science. It has a basis in understanding of the human body at a much deeper level often than what the simple blood test will be able to tell you.
So, where do we start?
Well, I think we can start with food digestion because that's the biggest one that people have trouble with. And I've said time and time again, I see people now who've had 20 years of taking antacids, 20 years of taking medications for acid indigestion or reflux or what they now call GORD, and nothing has been done to absolutely fix the cause of the problem. And if you allow that to go on unfixed, and I was just been into the States and just came back this morning, and speaking to a guy at the seminar I was doing, and he went to a doctor, a few years back. Nothing wrong with him, no medications, he thought, but he was tired. Anyway, the doctor ran all the tests. He ends up on 15 medications night and morning. But no advice on his diet and no advice on what he can do to actually get off the tablets. So he's on blood pressure medication, he's on cholesterol medication, he's on diabetes, 2 lots of diabetes medication because they couldn't control his blood sugar. So just in the time I had to talk to him, we got him started on a program where he could start to make some changes and monitor those changes in a way that was outside the medical sphere, if you like, but in accordance with science.
So food is pretty important in our daily living, isn't it?
Absolutely. And he started 20 years ago. Why I brought him up was he started 20 years ago with indigestion. And he's been taking what they call Tums in the United States or Alka-Seltzer or Nexium or Pariets or those sort of things for 20 years before he was diagnosed with all of these other conditions.
And hadn't realised.
And he hadn't realised. He hadn't been paying attention to what his body was trying to tell him. And that's what we're really called to do.
And 2NURFM's Health and Wellbeing with David Lomman. We're looking at how the body might be like a car. Well, no, we're looking at some of the things that we need to think about. Are we not?
We are indeed. And after the food digestion comes a little thing called elimination. So if the body can't eliminate the waste, then the waste is tending to accumulate in the body. And that gives rise to issues like skin complaints and bloating and gas and a whole range of different things, let alone the discomfort of trying to go to the loo, or when you go there, finding it all rushes out and you can't do anything about it. You know, there's a whole range of different things that go along with the making elimination a normal part of a day's life, if you like, so that you can go comfortably 2 or 3 times a day. And that's a big goal for a lot of people. In the pharmacies and in the health food shops, the biggest sellers are usually the laxatives. You know, it's one of the biggest sellers there is because people are so bound up. And that goes back to poor digestion, but also goes back often to poor food choices for their body. Because what works for one body won't necessarily work for another body. And it's important that we work out individually what's right for our body, I believe, rather than what's just right for everybody. And that's why some of the food choices that we look at on the pyramid, the food pyramid which is touted around, tend not to work for a lot of people because they've got a heavy grain basis on it. And there's a number of books coming out now which are really exposing what's happened to our grains over the last 20, 30 years. And it's horrifying in the way that you see the way that those grains have been changed. And one book's called Wheat Belly, and there's another book out there as well, which just escaped me for a moment. But it's they're all about the modification of the grain, the way in which the scientists have gone about making a grain which will last longer and be more bacterially resistant, without considering that we have the bacteria in our gut which need to break that grain down. And it's causing enormous havoc with a lot of people with bloating and indigestion and discomfort, and particularly in the stages of elimination. For some people, it makes everything go through their body too fast, and for other people, it just slows everything down, and they just can't move.
So is it a matter of trial and error to see which foods are right for you?
Yeah, it's also a matter of investigation. It's a matter of noticing what does work and going on an elimination diet to start with, and then slowly reintroducing certain foods and noticing what works and what doesn't work. There was a great book by a guy called William Crook, written back in 1986, called The Yeast Connection. And in it he explained how to do a detox diet. And he was particularly focused on a thing called Candida. Now, Candida happens because the bugs in the gut like sugar. The Candida flora like sugar. And when we have antibiotics and it wipes out a lot of the other flora of the gut, these bugs feed on any sugar which comes through, and they can cause thrush in women, but they can also cause enormous problems in the thinking capacity of people as well, because they give off formaldehyde in their life and death stages. So even when you kill them off, you feel lousy for a while because of the excess toxins that are accumulated in the body.
So that's a call for help, looking at how your body's working with elimination. What's our next one?
The burden on the key organs. Because if you're not drinking sufficient water, for instance, and the blood's too thick, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the organs that you are using to push that blood around the body and to filter that blood. So it puts pressure on the liver and the kidneys, but the area where it puts more pressure than anything else is on the heart, because the heart has to beat harder to pump that blood around the body. So we have a lot of people on heart medication who are there because they're not drinking sufficient water to actually thin their blood. Then they go on to the blood thinners. They've got heavy, thick blood. The heart has to work hard. They artificially thin the blood, whereas water and the right food would do the same job equally as well if they got it early. So the whole idea today is we're talking about getting things early. When you first notice that something isn't right, go to the doctor, go to the specialist, and then if they can't find anything, look outside that field and see who else can actually help. And there's a number of good practitioners. So if you are struggling with your health and you don't know where to go, start asking around. Ask your friends. Find someone that you haven't seen for a while who looks really good and ask them, what are they doing? There is an enormous amount of information out there now and a lot of help for people.
And we're looking at your body's call for help on 2NURFM's Health and Wellbeing.
And one of the big calls for help that the body makes is energy production. So anybody who doesn't have energy, good, solid, consistent energy right through their day, their body is actually calling for help, I believe. And the reason is that we are meant to have energy. We are meant to be able to get up in the morning, our feet hit that floor, and we can go. And if that doesn't happen, if you've got to, you've got to stay in bed, or you're dragging yourself, or you're finding that your energy flags, you're breaking down, your emotional energy flags, all of those things are a sign that your body is not being treated in the way that it needs to be treated for you to have good energy. And you know yourself, if you haven't got energy, how can you run your radio show? How can you actually show up and think about what to say and what to do and how to behave and how to be on air and how to interview? And it's the same for people in all different sorts of jobs. There has to be energy within the body in order to do those things.
So energy is important.
It is important. It's a reflection of a sign of the actual health of the body as well. And I'm not talking about hyped up energy, which some people have. You can get some people who are, I can never been sick a day in my life, and then they drop dead from a heart attack. Not that sort of energy at all, that they're go, 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 go. But balanced energy where you can come to the end of the day, you're quite tired, you go to bed, you sleep really well, you go through the night asleep, you might get up once maybe, but no more than that. Then the next morning when you get up, you wake up bright and early. You wake up basically with the sun, you get out of bed and you're ready to go. And you go all day again and you just keep repeating that pattern. What's
our next call for help?
Nutrient density. And this is the measure of the amount of nutrients you have to fuel normal body functions. And factors that could eventually trigger disease and aging. Early aging is a big one for people. And my belief is that early aging is caused because people don't have enough nutrients in their body. Basically, lack of water, lack of the right minerals, and lack of the right enzymes are those causes, and having the right balance of foods for the body. Too much cakes, too much breads, too much of the other things just weigh the body down, and they really do contribute, especially sugar, to early aging. That's let alone things like alcohol and tobacco. But just those things alone really do contribute.
So when you say nutrient density, you mean that involves which nutrients you're using?
Yeah, it involves vitamins. Do you have enough vitamin C for your body? Do you have enough of the B group vitamins? That goes back to energy, because to have energy, you need the B group vitamins for the whole of the system. Do you have enough CoQ10, because that's needed in the mitochondria of the cell to produce energy and to help the heart? Do you have enough potassium to help regulate the balance in the heart muscle and all the other muscles of the body? These are all things to be looked at and considered in any systemized looking. Sometimes people take their car along and they put the car up on the machine, and the machine does all the computer analysis and finds out exactly where the car is at a much deeper level than what we tend to go for our medical checks. So it's more about, if you know how your body feels and there's an issue, or you can even see an issue on your skin, say the skin cancer's developing, it's one thing just to go along and just have them burnt off. It's another thing to do what, say, Greg Chappell, the famous cricketer, did, and change your diet so you don't get them anymore. It's just a change of thought. I don't want blood pressure, so therefore I know that I can't eat foods which are going to continually increase the pressure in my body. And it's the same for anyone else. It's about changing, and it's about looking at those changes.
And the body's call for help, something isn't quite right.
Yeah.
And moving on to the next one.
Emotional stuckness. And that's really a big one, because a lot of us are stuck. We're stuck in traumas from the past which no longer have any meaning beyond the fact we're stuck there and we don't know how to move on. So we could have had a lousy childhood, but we don't know how to move on. And lousy experience through our life in our 20s or 30s or whatever. A lousy experience in relationship, and we never have another relationship. These are the things which we tend to do to ourselves rather than saying, what's the opportunity for me in life? What can I actually achieve in life if I put all my energy into showing up every day? And that's what I believe we're all called to do. And the more we do that, the easier and freer it becomes for us.
One last call for help.
Physical misalignment. If your neck is aching, if your jaw is tight, if you can put your fingers on the sides of your jaw and just open your mouth and you've got a crunching feeling when you chew, or if your shoulder's lopsided, or you've got a sore foot or a sore ankle or a sore lower back, which I've had a few times, your body is misaligned. Now, you can go to the massage, you can go to physio, you can do yoga, which is what I'm choosing to do. You can go see a chiropractor, an osteopath, a physiotherapist, but do something, because the organs of your body depend on the nerve supply coming through your spinal system, feeding adequate energy through to the organs of your body. And if your spine is misaligned and any of those nerves are trapped, you'll have ongoing long-term problems with your back and your body. But more than that, you'll have problems with the organs of your body being able to do the other things that we were talking about, such as energy, such as digestion, such as elimination. So in an all-round treatment, it's also about making sure you are physically in alignment.
Thank you, David Lomman.
You're very welcome, Jane. Thanks, everyone.